Of all my books, Weeping Willows Dance is my favorite. Weeping Willows Dance is the true story of my grandmother Mozelle, her life from 1929 to 1965. Back in 1989, when my grandmother was visiting my family in New York City, she told me that she had built her house in Gaston, Alabama in the 1950s. She said, "I never built a chicken coop, but I built that house." "Surely, not by yourself," I said. "You and Granddaddy built it together, right?" "Your Granddaddy was sitting on a crate by our shack watching me," she said. "He never lifted a finger." The more my grandmother told me, the more I realized I had to write her story. My grandmother was one of 12 children of a sharecropper from Ralston, Georgia. She said she never wanted children, she never wanted to get married, and most definitely she never wanted to live her mother's life. My grandmother wanted to grow up, buy a car, travel the country free and clear of any children or husband. But in 1929, when she was just 15, fate stepped in one Sunday morning in church where she met my grandfather, who was 37 years old. Tall, dark, and truly handsome, Randell Tate swept Mozelle off her feet, and within a few short months, they wed. It was the start of the Great Depression. For my grandmother, it was hard times and a hard marriage to a man who was more worldly than she and had no intention of ever being faithful. 3 years later, the little girl my grandfather married had to become a woman once she started having babies she never imagined she'd have. But with no home of her own and no way to afford one, against all odds and with no help from my grandfather, my grandmother knew the only way she would ever own a house would be to build it herself. With sheer determination, my grandmother trusted God as she forged ahead and found a way to purchase a piece of land down in a valley of weeping willow trees and built her house with her own 2 hands. Weeping Willows Dance is my grandmother's story, but it's also the story of so many of our grandmothers. It's a story of incredible strength, remarkable determination, and unshakable faith. Weeping Willows Dance. I hope you'll want to read it.